Moshi Moshi.
Hello,
I'm Zeb Ramsbotham,
and I'm Annie Ramsbotham.
and we're the Rambling Ramsbothams.
Our journey might be rambling, but we hope this podcast isn't.
Today might be a little rambling because it's the Annie show.
Yeah, I have a lot to talk about. But I'm a model now,
Yeah,
technically.
on and off the bike.
Well, I did get asked to be a model in photos, which is kind of funny, but I'm, not qualified for that.
I mean, how do you get qualified to be a model?
Well, here, basically, you just have to look foreign and be friendly. So I have that going for me. But yeah, Travel Ishikawa is a tourism board. I don't know, the tourism kind of agency that's in this prefecture.
And it's probably like back home in the States, every state has their own little, we had Visit and See.
Yeah.
Isn't that what ours is called?
Yeah, it's kind of the main promotional body to promote this prefecture, and it's a government-run entity. But they wanted to partner with a media company. This time they partnered with Tokyo Creative, which if you watch a lot of Japanese YouTubers and things, a lot of those come from Tokyo Creative. But I got a little Instagram DM that was like, "Oh, are you free? We thought we had a model, and it fell through, but we're coming to Kanazawa on these dates." And I was like, yes, that would be so fun.
Maybe the other model didn't look foreign enough.
No,
Maybe she was a little too tan.
No, I don't think it's that.
Her hair's a little too dark.
Oh, no.
We need someone with lighter hair.
No. But it is funny that that's all it takes. They just want to see, someone who doesn't look Japanese in shots. I mean, I guess I get it, but it's just funny because in America you could never do that.
I've actually thought about that a lot with commercials and stuff because, I don't know, when you see a commercial when you're out somewhere or you see pictures, 99, which totally makes sense in Japan, 99% of the time it's a Japanese person. Mm-hmm. And it's to the point I'm really surprised when I see an advertisement and there's a foreigner in it.
Yeah.
And it always makes me realize, they're trying to attract a foreign market.
Yeah. Well, and it works when you see somebody that looks like you. So, I mean, it works both ways. But, yeah, it was interesting. So, they're trying to specifically promote not just Kanazawa, but actually the Kaga region. So, last week, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Noto Peninsula.
Specifically, which is the opposite side.
Yeah, specifically Wajima. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, that's on the other side of where we are in Kanazawa, Uchinada. If you follow the coast down towards Fukui, you will get to the Kaga area, and that's what they were promoting. So we went to the Kaga Onsen area, which has a 1,300-year history, and it's 1 hour away from Kanazawa. You can get there for now, you can get there on the JR Thunderbird, but as of spring 2024, they're opening the new JR Shinkansen line that goes to Fukui. So soon you're going to have to get on the Shinkansen. But yeah, for now, you can just get an hour away. And there's 4 bath towns: Yamashiro, Yamanaka, Awazu, and Katayamazu. I don't know the specifics between all 4. We only went to Yamashiro and Yamanaka, but it's a cool area because you can go to all 4 of these little bath towns while you're in Kaga.
Yeah. And one of them's on a lake down there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's, I guess, kind of like a mini Lake Biwa. You could go hang out in an onsen and look at a lake, or you can go hang out in onsen and you're closer to, the mountains, which, I mean, they're both super close to each other. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of fun because you can do two different, scenery from your onsen bath, potentially.
That's true. The first one we went to go take pictures of was the Yamashiro Onsen, or the Yamashiro bathhouse specifically. And they have one that, it is a reconstruction, as most wooden buildings are, but it's based completely on what the Meiji era one was, so the mid-1800s to the early 1900s. And it's a kosoyu bathhouse, which I don't know if this is a Hokuriku specific term, but it's where a bathhouse is the center of the town and everything is built around it.
I don't think it's a Hokuriku thing because there's another really famous bathhouse that they also claim some anime is based on, and it looks super similar.
Oh, okay.
It looks so similar that one time I saw a YouTube video and it was in my recommended videos.
And you were like, oh, that's Kaga.
Yeah, I was like, wow, they went to Kaga, and then I looked at it and it was not Kaga. So I don't think it's a Hokuriku only thing.
Well, I just meant like the term.
Oh.
But
yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. But this one is unique because they've built it completely like the Meiji-area one, down to the fact that there's apparently no showers inside. Because the girls that I was with, it was actually really cool. I was the, air quotes model, and then there was a female cameraman and two female kind of like scene directors. So it felt like
girls' weekend.
I was texting Zeb and I was like, this is so fun. I mean, I know that they are working and they're not like, they didn't choose to hang out with me, but it felt like it felt like a girls' weekend.
They like me.
They picked
They're
me.
my friends.
But
Yeah.
So anyway, we were talking at dinner and they were like, yeah, we should go to the bath. But they were like, I don't know if we should go to this old bath because it's a little too old. Like, they said that you just scoop the bath water out of the bath and then you take it to just like on the other side of the bath and like rinse yourself. And I was like, then does it not just go into the bath water again? And they're like, no, it has like a channel.
Yeah.
But there's not, you just have to trust each other that you've showered.
Yeah.
Which is super different than any other bath. Usually it's very important that you take a shower in the very obvious shower area.
I would believe, though, that people do shower because it is such like it's such an ingrained thing.
Yeah.
So I would trust other people, but yeah, it is funny that there are no
It would
showers.
just be much more inconvenient for me because I would, like, I guess I would have showered that morning or like shower somewhere else and come over. Actually, it would be the perfect place to go if you are doing like the 4-bath town tour, because if you do the other onsen, any of the other 3, and then you come to that one, you would have already bathed once.
Yeah, but you got to bathe again.
Like, you would have already showered
I wouldn't
once.
trust a person. If they came in and I didn't see them bathe and then they got in that water, I'd be like, they're
I'm just
gross.
saying, if you're doing like the, the honor system thing, then you would have already bathed. Anyway, we didn't go inside. They did take photos of it without a person in there, without me.
They didn't need to see that.
Yeah, exactly. So the coolest part, I thought, was we went to, while we were in the Yamanaka area, so not the one with the old bath, Yamashiro, but the other one. We went to this really cool cafe, and so they were like, oh, we're going to go get take some pictures at this cafe by a river. And I was like, great, I've been to plenty of cafes by a river, that sounds nice. Well, first we arrived at the parking lot and we start walking over this bridge. It's the Ayatori Bridge, and it's this huge winding red, like, it looks like roller coaster scaffolding going across the Kakusenkei Gorge. I was so surprised, and there was all this fall foliage. It was a word of a week last year, but it's koyo, and there was still koyo like happening in the gorge. It was really pretty.
Yeah, because this is a little aside, but like the leaves still have not changed here.
Not in
Like where
Uchinaba.
we're at. No, even on like bike rides when I went over to the mountains earlier, like the low mountains next to Kanazawa. It's like there may be a few trees where you're like, oh, maybe it's going to be fall soon.
Yeah.
And it's already like winter.
Yeah, it's like late
So,
November, and it's,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's been a really strange leaf season, but yeah.
So, Kakusenkei Kawadoko is the cafe name, and Kawadoko, I thought it was just a name, but it refers to a cafe where you're eating, like, so close to the river that the floor is actually either over or like part of the river. Like, have you seen pictures where there's like free water flowing?
Yeah.
And it's really popular in the summer, of course, because, the cool air can kind of be more refreshing if it blows over the water, kind of like natural air conditioning.
Yeah.
But that's what this was. And it was just these little tables. We can put pictures up on our Rambling Ramsbothams Instagram. But yeah, you wind down this dramatic bridge over the gorge, and then you weave through the kind of wooded mossy area, and when you come out of the river, it's like this idyllic scene. I can't
believe it.
Yeah, I was really surprised. Online it says that this is only open from April to October, but I mean, this is late November, so I don't know what the hours are, because it was definitely open.
Maybe it's like when it starts snowing, they close.
Probably.
But it just hasn't been that cold yet.
Yeah.
So.
Well, each night, we didn't stay for the nighttime. We just got a little tea set, and then, took pictures and looked out at the water, and, it did feel I was like, this really should be promoted. I know this
is Japan.
No, I just mean it was like, it was something worth going to, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you go really far, and it is cute, but it's so out of the way that you're like, I don't know if this is worth it. But it was just outside of the, like, main town, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually something I've wanted to go to because specifically on Google Maps, when you look up that gorge, it's always photos of that cafe. It's like people that have been to the cafe, then when they, like, review the gorge, they always use their, like, cafe photos.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you look at the gorge on Google Maps, you probably will see where Annie was. And so I've seen it, and I was like, I would want to go there.
There's only, like, 7 tables, and so 6 tables maybe, which is more than, you know, the seats in any small ramen shop. But
what time do they open?
10. So we got there at 9:30, and just to, like, you know, claim a table and take pictures really quick. But when we were leaving at 10, all the tables were full. So, I don't know. It was affordable and easy to get to, but I would go really early, I guess.
But you can get to the tables without going to the cafe.
No, that is all the cafe. Like, the whole thing
was... But you can sit at the tables before the cafe is, like, open.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would just take my own coffee and go sit down there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doors. It's just tables, like, kind of on the river, and then there's a little stall area where they just prepare tea and 2 things. You can either get, like, a matcha drink with mochi balls in it, or you can get a cake roll, which we didn't get that one, but yeah, so there's limited options. But
so we stuck with the matcha.
I don't know how they decided, but yeah, and so when I was saying... People don't want to
come here to eat cake.
They want mochi.
Yeah.
But what I was saying with the nighttime thing, apparently the Ayatori Bridge gets lit up at night in the 5 colors that Kutani ware is traditionally, you know, made in. So that was very cool. And the bridges kept getting nicer. Well, I don't know if it's nicer, but the Korogi Bridge was also in Yamanaka. A little, like, you have to walk back up to the main town street, which actually we biked through this. If you watch my Anywhere and Everywhere channel on YouTube, little plug, but there's a video where Zeb and I biked to Fukui, to Ono Fukui, and we rode through Kaga, and we stopped at this, like, really pretty shrine with these huge trees. The street we were on just before that shrine is the street I'm talking about in Yamanaka.
Yeah, it's a really pretty area, and it's really nice, and I definitely want to go down there sometime and, like, stay in one of the onsen towns, just because people will joke about this. They're like, where should I go in Japan and I can, like, really feel the 80s, you know? Or they'll pick, like, a random decade.
Yeah. And
a lot of people that joke are like, well, clearly you haven't traveled in Japan a lot because you can just go to the countryside and you'll be, like, thrown into the past. And the onsen town we biked through was kind of like that.
Yeah.
You could tell it was, like, a little bit past its prime.
This one was pretty nice. Some of them...
No, the downtown area of, like, with... where you went was, like, super nice, but the one we biked through, like, we biked through kind of, like, not the main street, but there are lots of, like, onsen ryokans, and it felt like I thought it was still, like, very atmospheric, and I thought it was really cool, but you could tell it was kind of like, oh, they built all this.
Expecting more people to come?
I don't know if they expected more people to come, but then they built it, and then they didn't really do it. You know, it's kind of like Katamachi.
Like, no upgrades?
Yeah, it's, like, a really popular area, and the buildings, but you look at them, and a lot of them are, like, kind of rusty, or, like, a lot of the stuff.
We stayed in a hotel that was, like, interesting because it was traditional in that I was in a room with tatami. Like, it was a Western-style hotel where you check into a lobby, go up an elevator, like, you know, not a ryokan. But then when you get into the room, there was tatami, but it was, like, plastic woven tatami. It was, like, modern. Fake one. It was, like, modern tatami. And so you roll out your futon and everything, but it was such a Western, Eastern room, and it was very, I don't know, just the yukata coat felt very, like, 80s. It was kind of, like, red and, like, flashy, and so it was like they were modernizing, but it was still very familiar. I don't know, it was just very interesting. Even on the buffet, like, the buffet had, it actually had ochazuke, like, rice soup that you could have, but...
A little heavy for breakfast, maybe, but...
Yeah, they also had draft, like, beer on draft.
Wow.
But it was next to the
Getting
juice.
your morning started.
I couldn't tell if it was, like, on, because that's also where you get dinner.
I bet it was on. Some businessmen down there.
But anyway, I did think, like, oh, it's interesting, just the mix and how it felt kind of dated. It was like clean and nice and comfortable. But it was interesting. It felt like, it got built during the bubble and then never like renovated.
Yeah, I've actually thought about this. This is an aside, but
Okay.
Japan has like a certain like timeless feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because sometimes it feels old, but it doesn't feel historical. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like because the way things get rebuilt, but they get rebuilt in the same design. But sometimes they get rebuilt in the same design, but slight upgrades. Like, especially on the countryside, like a building will go from being like a gashizukuri with the thatched roof to, oh, now it's a thatched roof, but it's covered in sheet metal because they don't want to replace the thatch, but then they also want to stay in the house. So sometimes it has this like quirky nature where like,
It seems more practical though. Like you don't want to keep up with the thatch, but
I'm not saying it's not practical. I'm just saying like sometimes you're in a village in Europe or somewhere and it feels super ancient.
yeah.
Where sometimes in Japan you're like, it feels historical, but it doesn't feel that old. You know,
Yeah.
it's like a weird, because it's been recently rebuilt or there has been a little recent renovation. And sometimes the onsen towns feel like that it feels historic. Like you can kind of feel the history, but then you're looking around and you're like, but it seems weirdly modern. It's not. And I wonder if it's that blend of they're trying to
maybe.
modernize, but they're also trying to hang on to traditional things.
I like that there's the traditional emphasis still.
No, I like it. I don't
Yeah.
think there's a problem. Just sometimes you're somewhere and
Like pick a lane. Like either be all the way traditional or all the way modern, you mean?
I don't think they need to pick. I just think it's a
Okay.
funny feeling.
Yeah.
Like you can feel there's kind of this, you're caught in between.
Yeah.
Like being very historical versus, or I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't feel old, but it feels historical because you know that most of it's been rebuilt, but they rebuilt it to look like something that
Yeah.
is from the past.
Well, that area does have a 1,300-year history, which is
There
pretty
it is.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So, so I was mentioning the Fukui video because when we were in a store, it's called A, I, U, E, O, like vowels. Because I think they had all these vowel things, and I couldn't read the signs in Japanese, and then when I was researching it later, I couldn't quite figure out. Some things were saying it's because one of the monks that the temple is kind of like dedicated to, he translated a lot of religious texts. And then another website was like, oh, it's the birthplace of the Japanese syllabary, which is like a pretty bold, like, comment. So I need to look into that more. But anyway,
That's
they
super
had
old. That would be like a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yeah.
There would be so much information there if that was
Well,
the
they did
case.
have a lot of like things that were themed on vowels and stuff like that. But anyway, there's a shop that has that name, and we went in and it was really cute. And I bought a bunch of stuff, and the shopkeeper was like, "Do you have a YouTube?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I was talking about how I'd biked through that street and I had never stopped, and I was happy that we had time on that day to actually go into her store. And she was like, "Oh, my husband rides bikes, and he I think he was watching your show." And I was like, so
A
flattered.
little home wrecker.
No, it's
My husband won't get off YouTube.
oh my goodness. No, it was just so flattering, and she was
Yeah, you're a little celebrity now.
Oh, yeah,
Modeling,
yeah.
getting witnessed on the streets.
Yeah, there's dozens of
There are
viewers.
people chasing you down. She's a YouTuber.
It's because it's such a niche thing. There's so few like female cyclists, but it's just generally cyclists that are doing English content about Japan. There's not a lot, so
Yeah,
it's
you're
a very
like an endangered species.
No, it's just that it's a very easy niche to be in. So if you Google like Kaga cycling in English, I'll probably come up because there's not a lot of English YouTubers doing cycling in Japan. Anyway,
It's true.
I was very flattered.
Yeah, I was shocked.
I know. I
You're never
texted
gonna come home.
I'm a celebrity now.
Yeah, just out there, just in the wild.
Anyway, I'm joking.
We'll look back one day at this as the pivotal moment
Yeah, right.
before the fame just skyrocketed and this
Yeah, so
family falls apart.
back to
Oh,
bridges.
sorry. Okay.
We the Korogi Bridge was the second really pretty bridge that we went to. I don't know if it would be as dramatic without like all the pretty foliage. It would be a very pretty bridge, but it was especially pretty because of all the maple trees that were around it, making it very scenic and seasonal, But it was cool because you can cross the bridge and then go under the bridge and see the canal more, I guess the gorge, not the canal. the river gorge. So that was really nice. And there was a lot of photo opportunities. So that's the 2 onsen towns out of the 4 that we visited. And then as we were driving back to Kanazawa, we visited the Museum of Ice and Snow. Have you heard of this museum?
No.
I hadn't either. We were pulling in and I was like, wow, look at all this stuff that's like an hour from my house that I felt very, uninformed.
Well, really, I don't know why, but we go north most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, specifically in Ishikawa, when we've done... I mean, we went to Fukui that one time.
Well, the cycling is just better north.
Yeah.
It's good if you can get past, like, the Kanazawa, not sprawl, but just kind of like the city suburbs.
Well,
They expand more south.
Yeah, and it's difficult because it kind of flows from Kanazawa into Komatsu.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes from big city, or, like, huge city to big city. And then it's hard to... Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just have to fight through traffic
Kaga's
a little
on
bit more.
The other side of Komatsu.
Yeah, so it's a little more... like difficult. There's like cool stuff down there, like the Todorigawa and stuff like that. But yeah, we don't go down there very much. We should do like a train trip.
I bet we could put our bikes on the train. We need Rinko bags.
No, I don't want to put my bike on the train.
Oh, okay.
I would just ride down there.
Oh, well.
I was just saying like a train trip just for fun.
We were just complaining about how hard it is to bike down there. But
yeah, but that's not such an impediment that I feel like I need to pack my bike up and drag it onto a train.
Putting the bike on the train would just be a weakness of myself as a cyclist.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, I'll put my bike on the train and go ride a bunch in the Kaga area. But the museum, the Snow and Ice Museum, it's dedicated to the achievements of Yukichiro Nakaya, and he's a scientist who's from Kaga, and apparently he's the first person in the world to make an artificial snowflake.
I'm reading that in the notes, and I'm not distrusting.
Okay.
I just need to see some sources.
You can't just make a whole museum and put all this stuff on the internet without it being... I mean, you can put whatever you want on the internet, but I feel like getting the green light to build a whole museum, you have to at least, be telling the truth.
Well, I need to see some qualifiers for artificial snowflake.
Well, in 1936, when it was difficult to have, a freezing room that you could work in, that he adjusted the air temperature and humidity somehow enough that he and his colleagues could make a little tiny, like, ice crystal snowflake at the tip of a sliver of rabbit hair, because they took rabbit hair off of one of his assistants' fur coats.
See, that sounds a little too
storybook.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool,
like,
though.
My assistant wore a rabbit fur coat, and
Truth is stranger than fiction. But... I don't know, I just think nobody had really tried or wanted to, or it was just a field that was kind of understudied. And he was like, I'm going to study how water makes different formations. And then they use it for not weather forecasting, but now they can tell what like kind of snowflakes are in snow clouds and predict certain things from that. So he works with like space travel a lot, because I guess you have to go through frozen... Can you tell I don't know much about this, but
well, I mean,
you have to go through like frozen air crystals to get out of our atmosphere, I guess.
Yeah, it's cold up there.
Yeah. Well, there's no like air crystals in space, but I guess, just the atmosphere around Earth. Anyway, it was the design of the museum, if you go for nothing else but the architecture, it was a cool museum, because it was very small, but the little building was designed, the top had this glass and kind of metal poles in a way that looked like snowflakes for the roof. When you looked up, it looked like a little snowflake pattern in the ceiling. And then outside, there was this walkway out to a cafe that overlooked a lake, and Mount Hakusan was on the lake. And so that was just the placement of the museum was cool. But when you walk outside, you walk by this rock garden. I don't know, it was just a big area of rocks, and I would have thought nothing of it, except every hour they do this really cool steam release. I guess it's just all kind of part of the different forms of water, but it makes for some really cool photos if you go and you stay on the hour.
If you're trying to influence somebody,
you
can go down there and hang out in the mist.
If you didn't know it was coming, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Because it's so much steam that the person you're standing next to, you won't be able to see them. Like it rolls in, and then the whole area is really steamy, and you're like in a cloud. So maybe that's why they do it. But it's pretty cool. And then the cafe, you can have just different, like, cute Japanese tea sets. and look over across the lake at the mountain. And if you go during this time, like late fall, Mount Hakusan, it's one of the 3 holy mountains. We've talked about it before, but it's not, particularly tall or grand in the.
I mean, it's fairly tall.
It
Isn't
is
it like 11,000 feet or something like that?
Not feet, meters.
It's definitely not 11,000 meters.
Oh, 11,000. Yeah, sorry.
That would be.
I was thinking 1,100.
That would be Mount Everest.
Yeah.
It's not really that tall.
It's okay. No, it's a very cool mountain, and I would like to go up to the top of it. But it's not one that you hear about very often, I guess. But it happens to be Ishikawa's tallest mountain, which may
I guess
also
we're biased
not
because we hear about it a lot, but we live here.
Yeah.
So.
But this time of year, it's already covered in snow. So when you're, hanging out in a cool but pleasant, atmosphere on the bottom by the lake, you can have the snow-capped mountain view.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's actually really nice because all the Toyama mountains are also now covered by snow, which it really must just be in the summer because of the humidity. You can't see them.
Yeah.
But now because it's wintertime and the air is like so crisp, it's really nice because you can see over the little Ishikawa mountains that kind of divide the border between Ishikawa and Toyama. And you can see all the way across Toyama, and now you can see the Japanese Alps over there. And they're just so impressive looking, because when you look out the window and you see these mountains that really you would think that they're pretty close. You'd be like, oh, those aren't that far away. But knowing, like, okay, you're looking over Ishikawa, over Toyama to those mountains, and now they're covered in snow, so they really stand out. It's just really impressive to look over there and be like, wow, those are big mountains.
Yeah, that's true. I like how you can see the mountains getting snow, like, layer by layer as the winter comes.
It slowly comes towards us. And I was thinking I was meant to look at my phone, but last year I took a picture, because I remember I, took a picture because I was like, oh, it's the first time I've seen the mountains covered in snow. Mm-hmm. And recently, we've been seeing them again, and I feel like it's almost like a whole month later. Almost.
Things are late this year, like with all the fall leaves and things.
Well, it was like a record, worldwide. It was like a record-breaking summer. And then
scary.
the temperature just stuck around, so, yeah.
Do you want to hear about an off-topic from mountains thing that I got to see in Kaga?
Yeah, some more modeling?
No. This was actually a local craftsman that we did take pictures of him teaching me, but it was mostly, as it should be, it was featuring him as the artist. And I was kind of like, I'll be there as a pupil, But he was a Kintsugi craftsman. And he's a 4th-generation lacquerware craftsman, but he was one of the first to be only Kintsugi. And you might have heard of this before and forgotten the word, but this is basically when a pottery or a bowl or a cup or something breaks, and you can put it back together with gold and make it prettier than it was before, or at least bring new life to something that is meaningful to you that would have otherwise had to be thrown away.
Well, you could also just fix it without the gold.
You could, yeah.
So use the gold to add a little flair.
Yeah, I guess
really
so.
Spice it up.
Well, I didn't realize. I thought that they were just like soldering or using like gold liquid and it was hardening, something like that. I just thought they were doing that, but it's actually 90% lacquer.
Yeah, because you remember our buddy Reed sent us.
I remember he sent us some like fake gold powder, and it was really cool. I don't remember. Did he have something about lacquerware in there?
But yeah, it was like a little kit.
It wasn't lacquer though.
It had like a little description of what it was.
But it wasn't lacquer.
I mean, not like traditional.
Well, apparently for it to count as like formal Japanese kintsugi, it has to be lacquer. Like from, it has to be like the adhesive sap from a lacquer tree, an urushi. But I do remember when Reed sent us that stuff because it was really nice, because it was thoughtful of him to send us things that we could like mend our pottery and kind of as a nod to kintsugi. And I know he wasn't, I don't think he was trying to be like, oh, this is the true kintsugi craft. It was really cool. But so Yagi-san is who was the teacher, and Yagi Shigeki is his full name. But he has a home and studio in Yamanaka Onsen, and when we went into his studio, it's just his house, we just like knocked on his front door and he let us in, and it was really cozy in there. And his desk is just like covered in mugs and bowls and things. And they all have like a Shironeko like delivery slip in them because they're all somebody else's.
Like Kuroneko?
Oh yeah, what did I say?
White Cat?
Oh, yeah.
The other delivery service.
Kuroneko. But they are all things that people have sent to him to repair for them.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I wonder how much he charges.
I don't know how much he charges, but each thing will take him a month. So it has to be something that you care a lot about. And it was interesting to see all the things that people cared so much about to send in. You know, like they were all different. Some were glass, like goblet type things, and some were mugs, some were bowls. And so you can just kind of imagine like, oh, maybe this was like an anniversary present, or maybe this is just the mug that you drink out of every night, or maybe this is like the glass that you toasted with at your wedding, or whatever. I don't know, I'm just making up stories, but it was very friendly to see all these things that, like, have you ever broken a glass and then you're like, oh, I can never use that again, like, that was such a good, like, this is not a glass, but do you remember when we went to Boone, which is our college town, and we bought this ceramic pumpkin?
And he got smashed.
And before we left Boone, we dropped him, and he broke.
I didn't drop him.
Did I drop him?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I don't remember. I blocked it out of my head.
Yeah. It was devastating.
It was devastating.
But we just glued them back together.
Yeah, but just the fact when your heart sinks when you break something, and then I wasn't sure if he would be in enough solid pieces to put him back together, but we glued him and he does work. But yeah, I just feel like that feeling when you're like, oh, he's back, is what Yagi-san can give to people, but in a prettier way because it's strong with the lacquer and pretty with the gold powder.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's really cool. I think it's a good idea.
He's featured on NHK. If you Google Yagi and Ishikawa and Kintsugi, it'll probably come up.
That's cool.
If you want to see a whole video on him talking about it. But he let me, he gave me a small lesson, and you paint, he takes the lacquer and he wiped it all around so it kind of mixed up a bit, and then he put it on some tissue paper looking things and squeezed it out of the tissue paper so that what dripped out was like pure lacquer without any dust or anything in it. And then he used that, and you paint it on, I think the cracks had already had lacquer on them because what we were working on was like 90% done product.
Yeah.
But they were already put back together, so that, I don't know how long that takes. But then to paint the lacquer over the cracks was really hard. He said that you have to go the speed of honey, like the way that honey drips. Because at first I was like, well, if I just paint it...
how warm's the room?
Yeah, true. But I was like, if I just...
pretty fast. It's hot out.
I was supposed to practice with straight lines, and I can make a straight line if I kind of use gravity and just go kind of quickly. But he was like, oh, that's way too fast. You have to go the speed of honey. And then it was hard because you have to just keep your hands steady. But he was really good at it. And that was surprising to me because I thought, oh, you just paint the gold on. And so once you paint the cracks with lacquer, and while the lacquer is still wet, you rub gold powder on top. And the gold powder settles into the lacquer and hardens that way. So you can't make it too thick or else the gold sinks, he says. Yeah, I was very fascinated.
It is fascinating.
Sorry, this is a lot of rambling from just me today.
No, Annie's been on a bunch of adventures. Yeah, I've just been hanging out at home.
Well,
living an average life.
Oh.
Yeah, so then to kind of move on to no longer Annie's adventures.
Yeah, sorry.
We have a nice email from a listener named Sandy who said, Annie, have you ever heard of Lolita fashion, Gothic Lolita, or
Gosurori?
Gosurori. So I think you should check out the Bell Cell Mall, particularly Baby, The Stars Shine Bright, and Angelic Pretty. I'd love to hear what you think. You might enjoy the whimsical animal drawings printed on the dresses, and you might feel a little embarrassed visiting in clothes you can bike in, so don't let Zeb make you bike. Gosurori is for princesses.
Oh.
And then she said, Zeb, since you love being shocked at movies Annie has not watched yet, you should check out the movie Shimotsuma Monogatari Yankee-chan to Lolita-chan.
Wow.
Never heard of that.
So, I
have heard of Lolita.
Have you heard of Kamikaze Girls?
No.
That's the English title of the movie.
Oh.
I haven't watched it, but so Yankee-chan, Yankee is like the name of it's kind of like what you would call a juvenile delinquent.
Yeah.
And then Lolita-chan is like Lolita, but in katakana. But Shimotsuma is, because I looked this up because I was like, that's a long title. But Shimotsuma is the town in Ibaraki Prefecture in eastern Japan. And that's where it takes place. And Monogatari is like a folktale, like story. So it's like town of this, or story of this town. But it's Kamikaze Girls in the English title, and it's like a Lolita girl and a girl in a biker gang become friends. And
wow.
Yeah. There's a lot more than that, but we should watch the movie. But yeah, Sandy, to answer your question, I have heard of Lolita fashion. I have never dressed in Lolita fashion. And if you're listening and you don't know what Lolita fashion is, it's started in Harajuku in like the 80s, early 90s, and it's a street style that's really like extremely cute, like Hello Kitty. And it's based on kind of Victorian, Rococo kind of look where there's a ton of lacy frills, headpieces, gloves, parasols, ruffles, like kind of over the top, maybe not over the top, but cuteness. And yeah, then there's kind of a spin-off of Lolita, a couple of them actually, but one of the most popular is Gothic Lolita, and if you take the first parts of the katakana of both words, it's gosu, like Gothic, rori, or gosu rori, yeah, Gothic Lolita. And so, yeah, it's like, to quote this website I was reading from, Lolita is seen as a reversion to demure clothing, which allows women to dress for themselves rather than the attention for men. Because it's really modest, I guess. It like everything's covered up. You don't have a lot of skin showing, but it's really girly and very like princessy, I guess, like Sandy said. But it's a pretty striking fashion, like pretty lifestyle.
Yeah, I could never imagine you wearing any of the
Yeah,
clothing.
I was gonna say, like, I admire it from an artist. Like, I appreciate it as an art form and, like, an expression of femininity. And I like that it makes girls feel like princesses, because I think you should feel beautiful. I don't think it would make me feel beautiful, though. Like, I think it would make me feel over the top and, I don't know, uncomfortable. But I like that people like it. Like, I think it's cool to see. And it takes a lot of time and money and planning to make an outfit like that.
Yeah.
I was looking up different styles, like different street styles. And I saw that there's like a newer one called Morike, like Forest Girl. And I was like, maybe that one's what I should have, because it showed up in like the early 2000s. I don't know if it's popular, but it's got like natural colors, like a ton of layering, handmade items, and it's supposed to give the woman the look of living out in the woods. But the girls that were in the pictures had like a ton of layers on like these huge cozy scarves and green muted colors. That's the one.
But also like lace and stuff.
Yeah, also.
Because you'd be wearing lace out in the woods.
You still have to be cute. You still have to be a princess.
I feel really bad because I've never understood lace like as cute.
Yeah.
So I feel like for me that's where, yeah, I don't know, it's a tough.
Well, I guess the fun thing is that like it doesn't matter what you think, because
Well, no,
if the girls like it, then they're like, well, I like lace. So in that way I like it. I like that idea. I just don't know if I like lace. But I think it's cool. And yeah, I should go see just the store Baby the Stars Shine Bright, which is a long name for a store.
Really,
I've seen it like shortened to like BTSSB.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Well, I was looking it up a lot. So yeah. Sandy, do you dress in Lolita or Gothic Lolita? And let us know what your favorite part about that style is if you do. But thanks for your email. And if
it's an interesting part of like Japanese, like it's an interesting part of Japanese subculture that we personally don't interact with a lot. But you do see, like, even in Kanazawa, it's not uncommon to see a girl who's like dressed up and just hanging out, like with friends or like going somewhere. It clearly does look like it takes like a lot of effort. I can just never get over the fact that I think I always dress for like comfort, and I always feel bad because I guess it's more like Maybe it is super comfortable clothing. I could always just think in my head, like...
It doesn't look comfortable.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't look comfortable.
Yeah. Maybe
So
being
I wonder if
cute
it's...
is more important. But, like, there is
Maybe.
a style that's, like, accessory-kei or something, where they just have a ton of accessories. Like, as many accessories as you can put in your hair. Like, all the different hair clips and, like, scrunchies and purses and, like, cute rings. I like that one. I think it would also be uncomfortable, but I would feel more cute in that style.
Really?
Yeah, because I like little trinkets, and just to, like, collect little things and then wear them out with friends and then be like, oh, what are your little trinkets that you've got in your hair and things?
Wow.
I think that one sounds cute.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't have nearly enough trinkets yet to dress like that. But yeah, thanks for your email. Do you have a word of the week?
I do. My word of the week is sabishi.
Sabishi.
Yeah. Which also, apparently, you can say samishi. But someone was saying that it's the same exact kanji, just two different readings. And someone online was saying that samishi is the Japanese attempt to, like, make the word sound cute. So apparently, traditionally, it should be sabishi.
What does it mean?
It means lonely
Aww.
or desolate.
Are you lonely?
Yeah, you left me for so long.
I'm sorry. I'm back. Yeah,
Which,
I did feel bad. I left Zeb a lot for different things around Japan.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
I was just here playing my video games and
good.
riding my bike. And,
good.
Yeah.
And we're going on a
good.
trip now together.
Yeah, but then it was interesting because, like, a subnote of that, apparently Japanese doesn't have a good way to say you miss something. Like, there's no real word for, like, missing. And so people were talking in some notes somewhere in definitions that you kind of have to say, like, you want to see something or you want to go do something. You can't really say, like, oh, I miss that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's funny. But yeah, so sabishi means lonely.
My word is tashikani, which I heard a lot when I was hanging out with these girls for the photo shoot. There was one girl that kept saying it, and I was like, I don't know what that means, and I need to look it up. And tashikani means certainly, or if I'm not mistaken, but you can use it in casual conversation a lot. I feel like it's the way that I use the word probably. Like, oh, we can probably make it, or like, oh, that's probably true. It's kind of a filler, and I don't literally mean probably. Like, you can use probably as, I don't know, more of a literal word, but it expresses, like, tashikani is more certain than I think, but less certain than definitely. So she was using it a lot, like, oh, that's true, or like, oh, yeah, I think so too, kind of. But you can use that. I'm going to add it to my Japanese vocabulary to sound more natural, maybe. So, yeah.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. So thanks for listening. And don't forget, you can find us on Instagram or on our website.
RamblingRamsbothams.com.
Yeah, and you can send us an email at ramblingramsbothams@gmail.com.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.